welcome to Just a Few More Minutes podcast, where three veterans of the animation and video game industry talk about exactly that, animation and video games. I am Jeff Gabor. I am an animator at Blue Sky Studios.
I'm Michael. I am also an animator. I was doing other stuff on my computer and got distracted. Hello!
And our third person in this party is...
Paquette. I am in the Boston area, I guess is what you would want to call it, but contract animator,
Teacher.
long time, teacher, professor, all that shit.
Professional. Never mind, I was going to say something. Professional badass.
I don't know about that anymore.
Well,
how you guys doing?
Yeah, doing good. It's been a while since our last podcast. Our last one was with Patrick, and this is just an episode with just the three of us.
Yeah.
Talking about animation-centric podcast this time. We were heavy on the video games last time, so... Woohoo! Michael, what was that?
That was a kiss to the viewers.
Oh.
Do it again. Brace yourselves.
Okay,
Nice.
that sounded better. It sounded less like a record skip.
Talking about audio,
Yep.
I was in the shower the other morning.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, howdy. I had one of the most perfect sounding farts I've ever had. And I was thinking, boy, howdy, I sure wish I could have fucking recorded that. I don't know why I'm still holding my mic up while I tell this story. I'm going to put it back down now.
Could you explain what makes the perfect sounding fart?
Well, since it's the animation episode, I'd really like to talk about texture right now. And it started wet, turned aggressive and hard, and then tapered off like on a nice little high note.
Nice.
And it was up against the wall, so it was amplified.
In the bathroom, it's always echoey, so
Exactly. It was very nice.
the acoustics were perfect for it. Yeah.
So welcome, new listeners, to this professional podcast.
So what have you guys been up to? I haven't talked to you since, like, legitimately we leave all banter out of the pre-recording just so we could, talk about what we've been doing and everything.
Yeah, everything's been going good. I came back from vacation. I went to Key West, Florida to try to get away from the pounds of snow that we've been going. I've been playing a ton of Celeste. Had my Switch. I had left it on an airplane, so I had to buy a new one, start over on all my games. So that sucked.
You made somebody happy.
Yeah,
How'd that happen?
Let's not get into that, because it's just going to be who to blame. Do I blame my wife? Do I blame me? It's probably little bit of both. Little both.
Just blame yourself.
But yeah, I will say this is a strong reason why to go digital games, because I was able to recover all the games that were digital. So I called up Nintendo, they deactivated my old console, and they allowed me to go ahead and just re-download all my games. So that was pretty cool.
That's what I've been saying. Go all digital.
Can't beat that, man.
Yep. I lost all my saves, so I don't think I'm ever gonna play Zelda again. I'm not starting over. No way.
That's too bad.
But yeah, and I didn't mind restarting Celeste. It's such a great game. So
How long did you go to Key West for?
I guess it was about 5 days, something like that.
Nice. Do you like it?
Yeah, it's the second time I've been there. It's an easy vacation to take from this area. It's fun. So yeah, I took my mom with me so she could watch Mackenzie. So got to actually have
the baby.
Yeah, well, she did do that too, but that stuff's good. You guys do anything?
I've just been still very deep in that Monster Hunter hole, on that Monster Hunter train that's just taking me through a mountain that never ends. Never getting off this train. It's dark inside. It's moist, but it's a good ride. You know what I'm saying, boys?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't think Jeff appreciates me today.
Me myself, I've had some kind of bad news lately.
No.
My hand has gotten worse. Um, I about a few months ago, I started losing half of my feeling in my hand, in my left hand, and I want to say it was like last Friday. I went to the doctor and they told me that I need I need surgery to fix it, and there's no guarantee the feeling will come back. And it's actually gotten to the point to where if I hold my phone for too long, my whole hand goes numb.
Whoa.
Or if I hold a controller for too long, my whole hand goes numb. And it's affected my work, and I actually had to resign from EA because I was, just working too much. And the doc was like, until you get surgery, it's probably a good idea to just take it easy. So I've been doing that this past week anyway. Over the past month or so, my brother and I have been building a prototype for a game.
That's cool.
That's pretty much been it, other than working and stuff. So I haven't had a chance to play many games. It just bothers me too much. Like actually sitting at the desk is manageable.
Yeah.
But like if I hold for some reason, if I hold a controller and I twist my wrists that way or something, it just goes numb. Like on the Switch, forget it, goes numb after like 10 minutes.
10 minutes? Oh,
Yeah.
no.
So it kind of sucks. So like I've actually, any gameplay and I've been doing has been on a keyboard. And I actually have been playing, what I didn't realize till recently was that Fortnite is cross-platform. My son plays on the PS4, and I'm able to play with him on my computer in his game, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
Really? I didn't realize it was doing that.
Yeah.
Is there a way to turn that off? Because I do not want to play against PC players. Like, they're aiming with a mouse. I do not want to play that. That's bullcrap.
I don't know if there's a way to turn it off or not.
I'm gonna check my settings now. Seriously, it's not fair.
Oh, I know that. For me, I'm not a very good gamer like that. I'm not very good with the mouse and the WASD, but I know what you mean. It's like pinpoint.
Yep.
Well, Pete, I'm real sorry to hear that, man. That is some real shitty news.
Yeah. I'm kind of, it was kind of a shitty situation to kind of have to like walk away from EA, but at the end of the day, it's like I'm really enjoying my work with Blizzard, and I definitely don't want to walk away from that, so it's like I had to kind of just figure out which was the one to kind of put down, and Blizzard was, I'm having fun with Blizzard. I'm working with John Collins, I'm working with Ryan, I'm working with Rich McCain again.
Wait,
and it's
John Collins that used to work at Pixar?
Yeah,
right.
And Blue Sky.
And Blue Sky before that. That's cool. He was I think he was my first mentor at Animation Mentor.
Oh, really?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm sure he would not remember me at all, but I remember him.
Well, he listens to the podcast from time to time. He likes it. He actually is the guy that I report to. He's like the outsource manager. So it's cool. It's cool to work with those guys.
Years ago, this month, 10 years ago this month, Horton Hears A Who came out.
Did it now?
Was it?
10 years ago.
10 years ago, huh?
Yep. 10 years, I think, to March 14th. And the main reason why Morton, the blue mouse, was ever a character in the movie was because of John Collins.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He did that quick speed test where he was kind of like running through the desert. And it became so popular, such an awesome test, that they blew up his character into an actual, like, speaking, talking, and a big role in the movie. All because of that test.
Cool. I remember that test. That was a good test.
Yep. The rig never got updated, unfortunately, so that was a little difficult, as you know, Pete. That rig was difficult.
Yeah, it was.
That's how it usually goes, though.
Yeah. Every animation, oh, sorry, Jesus. Every podcast begins with an animation tip, so let's make this no exception.
Okay.
I got one.
Good.
This is for feature film animators to remind yourself that you're working on feature films and to help you with your eye trace and make sure your audience basically isn't getting sick and looking around the screen too much. Like you want to actually keep that in mind that your movies are going to play on a giant screen. And it's a whole different experience of like how far you have to look left and right when you're looking at a 30-40 foot screen. So a good way to help you make good choices with that is to basically take a little dry erase marker or a little paper, or you can add it to your reticle and add little heads, like theater people down at the bottom of your screen, to simulate, oh, that's another row in front of me as I'm sitting in the theater. And it completely changes how you perceive your shot if you just imagine a bunch of little heads at the bottom of the screen.
That's
what made you think of that, Jeff?
I think Nick had been mentioning it, the director for our Spies in Disguise. He'd been mentioning it lately. Eye trace is a big agenda point for him.
Yeah. Dealing with that with my shots right now.
Eye trace.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Eye trace is tricky. Can I say what I'm working on?
You're
like in general?
Yeah.
Like it's a fight scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, I mean, I don't know if I might get in trouble. I don't know. Fuck.
If there's a movie called Spies in Disguise and there's no fighting in the movie, wow, that is a bait and switch.
Well, we got it, everybody. Stay tuned for the release date, whatever it is.
I actually can't wait for people to see the sequence. You're doing some of the more creative stuff that is being done on the film so far. It's really cool.
Oh, thank you, Jeffrey. But
Is there a release date yet? Or
funny thing you should say that. In news for Spies in Disguise, our release date has pushed 3 months. So it was January of 2019, and now it is mid-April of 2019 for U.S. domestic and March 29th for international.
An easy way to remember it is it comes out on 4/20.
20. That's
4
days before my
number.
birthday.
Right.
Oh, that's good too. Did you have a good segue for something right then?
Well, we were talking about John Collins and the Horton 10-year anniversary thing. But if we wanted to continue to go in and just... I was hoping that we could spend just a moment reflecting on Horton, you and I, Pete. What it was like to work on it and what it meant.
Yeah, for the question I get all the time in class or like when I give talks or something is like, what was your favorite movie you worked on? And I said, Horton. Like, what's the worst movie you worked on? I'm like, Horton. Because, for Blue Sky as a studio, it was still relatively small at the time. Mm-hmm. And most of their movies up to that point only really existed as like their pipeline was basically designed for like to hold the bandwidth of one universe, and that was huge when they had to have basically two universes in one film. Not only from like a logistics standpoint, but like from an animation standpoint as well.
Trying to tackle the jungle of that Horton lived in, and then the Whovilles, like it's a completely different way of thinking in terms of the construction of the environment and all that. It was quite an undertaking.
Yeah, but I mean, I have, like, honestly, outside of the production schedule, I have nothing but really good memories of working on that film. Mainly because of the people I worked with, and also because the style of the animation on like the Who's anyway was like super creative and fun.
Yeah, but before that, like movies that came out around that were like Pixar had just done like The Incredibles and Ratatouille in that time, and then like DreamWorks had just done a couple Shrek movies, and then the Bee Movie.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really the extent of CG animation at that time. You got a series of some Toy Stories and some pretty realistic Pixar movies. Nothing had really pushed the boundaries of cartoony animation yet in CG, so it was still relatively unknown of how cartoony can you actually take CG animation. And I feel like Horton pushed that bar way further than anybody had done it yet.
Oh yeah.
So squishy, squashy eyes, and the limbs that could do anything you could think of, like twist and turn and bendy and all that. Like, it was an incredible movie for its time in terms of how it pushed the art form.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like it definitely it changed the game, you know. Because I remember seeing after that was what came out after that kind of did the same sort of thing. It doesn't matter because I feel like a lot of films that went with that sort of style were inspired by what we did with it.
I think so. I don't think you would have Hotel T without having Horton first.
Yeah. Or even Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Mm-hmm.
Or something like that. I think it really did, change the game. My fondest memories of working on Horton was my commutes with Nick in the morning. We both had houses in northern Westchester. Well, maybe not too north, but about an hour or so from the studio. And we had kids. So when they mandated the overtime, we would try to do all our overtime in the morning. So we would get up at like 4:30 in the morning, meet up at 5, drive to work and work till 5 and then go home. And distinctly in my head, I remember whenever we would always stop at Dunkin' Donuts, the one that's like
Yep.
the same one you guys would still go to.
Yep. And
we would stop there, and then we would drive, and we would pass like this field with like, this long like I forget what you call them, but it's like this long, really tall grass, and it was right when the Opie and Anthony show would start up, and they would play that song that was Scratch for that song from Good, Bad, and the Ugly whenever they start up, and at the time it was Scratch audio for Horton's chase scene. So we would I just remember watching the sunrise over those willows and and thinking to myself that I'm an extremely lucky guy to be doing what I'm doing for a living, So, and then there's a ton of other stories too.
Yeah.
But that for some reason, that particular little clip of time every day is probably what I remember the most.
Trying to get some audio to play.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why. Do you guys hear that? Do you guys hear the music?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
It's loud.
Oh, great. Great. Cool.
That's really low now.
Yeah, I just turned it off because I'm not hearing it, so I can't monitor it.
Okay.
Classic good stuff. Jesus.
That's what we do here.
Yep. All right, fine. It doesn't matter. But yeah, that song was awesome. But yeah, so I went to Blue Sky for Horton. I was so excited about the idea because the Chuck Jones version was, I don't know, for whatever reason, I really, really liked it. So the idea that it was going to be a movie got me really excited. And then it scared the crap out of me when I saw the artwork for it. Like, cause I was working on Ice Age 2 as my first like real big CG movie or whatever CG, any movie I worked on. And then I walked down the halls and saw the artwork and it was absolutely like, I was like, holy crap, how am I going to learn this much? And then there was all these eye poses that were done by the design team of like, this is what he looks like when he's happy and sad and stuff. And I was like, I still hadn't learned the idea of like opening up different sides of the eye for eye direction and like really pushing stuff for emotions. And that was really, really cartoony. And I had to learn all these new rules. I just didn't know any of it, so it scared the crap out of me. So I ended up learning an incredible amount. And I feel like also from an animation standpoint, the rigs were so painfully slow. The first sequences we did, it would take 3 to 5 seconds to change a frame. So basically, it eliminated the idea you can't scrub. I mean, you definitely can't scrub, but you can't even like toggle between frames. So you would always have to play blast. Eventually,
and play blasting took a long time.
Yeah, very. So eventually we got it up to, I think Horton would change a frame every like 0.3, 0.4 seconds or something. It was a long time still. So you could kind of like go between frames a bit, but that was about as much as you could do. But what that really taught me was like fundamentals, like making sure you know your poses and your strength of your poses. You can't keep iterating with flipping, so you have to know exactly what you're doing. You have to write down all your adjustments that you want to make and then apply them before you play blast. Because if you just continually iterate through play blasting, basically you'll miss all your deadlines, and we weren't going to make the movie because that thing was so tight. Like we nearly didn't make that movie in time. Like they added that stupid song right at the end, and like we were so burnt out. I still remember you, man. Like they promised that we would be done by Thanksgiving, and you just let them have it when they're like, "Yeah, we're going to Christmas." Ugh, that was so heart-wrenching.
I did? Oh, man.
Yeah.
I was a dick, man. I swear to God, I've mellowed out. Like, I don't... It's funny because, like, I ever since I left Blue Sky, I guess when I was there, I didn't really realize how good I had it as far as, like, you know, the way things are done, even from just a production standpoint. But it took me up until probably about the second studio I worked for closing to realize that, you know, when things got tough at Blue Sky, it wasn't anyone's fault. It was like it had to be done globally in order to keep the place alive. And yeah, it's just like there's a lot of things now that I see in like different production settings that like you know, I don't know. I guess it was just like, you know, we were pretty lucky, especially since now, like, honestly, Pixar and Blue Sky is like pretty much the last men standing as far as like a stable job environment in feature film.
Right.
And that's nothing to kind of like shrug off, really. But anyway, going back to what you were saying about the rigs, it actually, I had the reverse effect on it. It had the reversed effect on me, and it actually changed the way I animated for good. Okay. To the point to where I don't play blast until the end of the day. Yeah. I got into that habit with Horton. Even now, I'll just work, and I set up my hotkeys with my left hand to where like 1 and 2 go 1 frame forward, 1 frame back. And then if I hold Alt, it'll snap to the previous keyframe, next keyframe. So without scrubbing, I'm able to see, you know, the changing and posing, and by just pushing the 2 button over and over again, it goes 1 step forward, 1 step forward, 1 step forward, and I'm able to figure out the timing just on frames. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I remember being like, because at the time when Horton started, my children were born, and I gotta call out Anthony Nisi for this because he was completely awesome. They were born almost 2 months premature, and they were at Greenwich Hospital, and every day he would let me Like he would let me go at lunch, take a long lunch every day to go see them, and he would let me come in late every day so I could see them in the morning, see them, at lunch, and then go and see them after work until they were out of the hospital. And he totally shielded me from any bullshit above him. So
I had no idea he did that.
I owe that guy big time. And but so as that was going on, I had a very finite amount of time that I could actually animate. So I was like, I was racking my brain on how can I do this? How can I do this? And I remember Hans Dastrup at one point did a talk about not to rely on play blasting as much as people do, and I remember him saying, like, if the old 2D animators didn't see their animation until the next morning, why can't we do that? And I ended up just basically training myself how to do that. And ever since then, I've been, I teach my students, like, you know what? Don't play blast. Just try it. See what your play blast looks like. Fix your problems, and just keep going back and forth until you feel comfortable enough to where you can literally put play blasting off for like hours at a time. And but yeah, that film totally changed. Not only it changed a lot. Like, not only it changed. Unfortunately, it changed for the worse for Blue Sky because we lost half the team afterwards. But but it also changed. It changed the industry for sure. And it changed. Personally, it changed how I animate. So, and I think it's for the better. So.
Well, I thought it was a very good movie. I won't sit here and lie and say it like changed my life and made me want to be an animator. I already knew I wanted to be an animator, but it was definitely the type of animation that I wanted to be doing. The reason I got into animation, well, there were a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons was because I loved film, first of all, but the fact that you could do weird stuff in animation is what appealed to me. And I feel like, not for the most part, but like generally, I would say animation as a whole, like the mainstream animation stuff that we're doing, has like just been softened to nothing. And like, we're not doing the kind of animation that Horton used to do, but except for like Hotel T, where they're allowed to push poses extremely and get like super off-model facial expressions that are allowed because they're funny and no other reason. Mm-hmm. And like, that's the kind of stuff that I love about animation.
Yeah. I don't disagree. It's funny because I'm supervising this film where all I do is say on model, pull it back, and the whole pre-production mentality was strip everything out of the characters and strip everything out of the rigs. Yeah. It's just the style of film we're doing. I think it has its own high quality-ness to it, but is it
for sure?
Is it like why I got into animation? It's definitely not the style of animation I do when I get to do my own animation. That's for sure. Like. Doing my own like junk that I draw and animate, it's always pushed super silly, just junk animation. Like, it's just it's always just there to be as silly as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. While we're talking about it, let me just bring up the fact: if you're watching on YouTube right now, you can watch me as I'm drawing this thing. And let me just screen share it with you guys real fast, because that's a thing that we can do now. But I've started doing just like drawings of random smear frames, because nice. Smear frames are like one of the things that I fucking love about animation, and people overuse it, and it's super obvious a lot of the time, and there's definitely an art form to it. But like, if you just stop on those frames and see all the fun stuff that the animators are doing, like, whether they hide something in there, like, for example, a sexual connotation like The Lion King or whatever, but like you can hide all sorts of fun things in animation that's just for you.
Yeah.
I did something like that in the Peanuts movie.
I got a fun fact about that because you're referring to the sex thing on Lion
Yeah.
King. It actually says SFX, special effects, but everybody thinks it
remember
says
that now.
sex. That's funny.
Well,
So they got beat over the head for it, but it was really just the special effects guys trying to like sign their name.
The some of the best smear frames I think I've seen in 2D animation anyway were from Cats Don't Dance.
Yep.
oh, fuck yeah.
Yep.
Like some of
that's
those
the
are just
go-to.
like insane. Like fill up the entire screen type smear frames. Just
I love
crazy
that stuff, man. It's so fun, and like it was created essentially to make animation smooth when you have limited time, right? But like to make it actually work well and not noticeable, it's such an art form. It's really hard to do
Yeah.
because you
Yeah, it
don't
is.
want the audience to actually see a frame where there's 14 eyeballs and 3 hands or whatever, but you just have to feel it. But I just love it. It's so cool.
Inspired by Cats Don't Dance, the opening shot to Ice Age 4, I snuck a shrink take into Scrat. So for like one frame, he shrinks down to like 2 pixels and then pops back open for his reaction. And it was absolutely just taken straight from, what's her name? Dolly?
Yeah.
Darla, right?
Darla, yeah. Sorry.
From Cats
I
Don't
don't
Dance,
remember.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cats Don't Dance is great.
So that's the kind of stuff I love to see. What was the question that you wanted that started this,
It's
Jeff?
more like what got you into animation, what inspired you, and I, for that reasoning, like the thing that I loved the most was just watching my characters come to life, and it actually is pretty relatable to what you're saying, Michael, because I don't get that feeling as much when I do like the realistic stuff at work. It's always nice, like once you hit play and then you get to see him move, but like I'm just doing this, like you've seen me keep drawing that dumb looking Santa Claus everywhere.
Yep.
So I did some animation of him like jumping and squashing, and I added one frame and hit play, and I seriously made myself laugh. That's the best. Like, man,
Yeah.
there's nothing better than that.
And it's rare because we don't get that so much anymore because we've been animating for so long. But when I read that text with the question, I was like, okay, yeah. What got me into animation was Princess Mononoke, which we've talked about. But like when all of us, I'm sure, animated a bouncing ball, whether it was on paper or in 3D for the first time, and you finally see that play blast or you go back and shoot it, that's what keeps you going to animation. It's such a good feeling when you see your stuff come to life. The illusion of life.
Absolutely.
I literally, I think I wrote that down when I was thinking about my answer. It's like, it really is that word, the illusion of life. It goes from like, oh, I'm drawing this stupid Santa Claus, and then the next moment it's like, that guy is a thinking live creature. Like, it's so awesome.
Yep.
I remember what got me into animation was the genie from Aladdin. I remember seeing it in the theater and just being absolutely blown away by what they were doing with him. And so I went home. I was always drawing, doing comics and stuff, super ultra violent comics. I was probably like 13, 14 at the time. And I immediately deviated and knew that, if there was a chance in hell, I wanted to try. So I started, this was all pre-internet, all that kind of shit. So I had my mom get me some animation books, and I still have my book. It's called The Animator's Workbook. And it's by Tony White. And it's a really simple, basic intro to animation. but it inspired me to start making like flip books and stuff. And I didn't have a light table, so what I did was I took my mom's typewriter, put the cover on it, and then took like the desk lamp and put it right over my hand so I could see through the paper. And I made all these like little flip books. I don't know if they still exist, but and just kind of taught myself, some of the concepts. And then Mario Paint came out, and around that same time, and Mario Paint is very crude, but at the time, it was my only way of really trying some of these concepts and actually seeing results in real time. So you have like something like at the most 6 frames. So I would do things like eye blinks or like head turns. And I can't tell you how influential Aladdin was for me, but I also can't tell you how much Mario Paint means to me because of that. So
I was so jealous of my friend. I still remember his name. Bastard, man. He never let me play with the animation part of Mario Paint. Every once in a while, he'd let me do the fly swatter game. That was it. I never got to play with the animation. I was so jealous because he would make these he would follow tutorials, so it'd be like, oh, Link throwing a boomerang or whatever. It's like, okay, I get it. You're recreating the look of the game, but you have the potential to actually animate. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I was so jealous. There was nothing
Sounds like a
that.
dick friend.
I actually captured him off of VHS on a VHS tape, and I actually captured that recently to digital. So I'm probably gonna upload them and do like a blog about my love for Mario Paint.
Nice. I definitely think video games are the future of animation and film and all that shit.
Well, I mean, there's like they're starting to really dive, like Industrial Light and Magic starting to really dive into that real time rendering with they did like a talk at GDC. I don't have the money to sign up for the Vault, but I would love to see it.
Yeah.
The Vault is like something like $500 a year or something like that just to access the videos.
Wow.
But
Too much, darling.
yeah. But yeah, there were some amazing things coming out of GDC this year. Not to change the subject drastically, but holy shit.
Like what?
Real-time, what is it? Real-time ray tracing? I think it was, who was it? I don't think it was Ubisoft. It was one of those big AAA studios, and they did this little like robot game that it was just like this game that you just kind of hit play, and all the little robots self-teach themselves, and they used it as kind of a demo to show off the real-time. Is it real-time ray tracing? Damn it, that's gonna bother me. I'm gonna look it up.
I mean, if it is,
What's ray tracing?
There's a huge connection to Blue Sky with that, because Blue Sky our render is the forefather of ray tracing, which is the idea of tracking light as it bounces from one thing to another, which causes a slow degradation of the light as it bounces from one thing to the other, and casts like color, like light can catch color from other things. So it's like if a light goes through a blue vase, it'll cause caustics and whatnot, like a blue reflection, all that. So that's ray tracing, is the idea of following light off of different objects.
All right. Okay.
Okay, so
good job, Blue Sky.
Is it ambient? It might be ambient occlusion, what I'm talking about, but
That's pretty fancy if that's real time.
But the real-time ray tracing was actually done by Epic, and they did a Star Wars demo of it, and that looks freaking fantastic too.
I heard about that one, but I didn't watch it because I'm a dummy.
Epic is all over the place. I saw them. They had a demo on that like crazy motion capture face data stuff, where they were like transferring it over to like other people, and it looked super real. Like, my goodness. So I saw that thing. They were in that. Of course, they're blowing up with Fortnite as well. Like,
yeah, man.
Yeah, Fortnite going to the phones is like I mean, not only is it cross-platform now, but it's over the phones too, and that's like it's a phenomenon. Like everybody's playing it. Me personally, I don't see the appeal because what happens is I collect a bunch of shit, and then I die. Hey, Deb.
We're saying hi.
Hello, Deborah.
Hello, Deb.
Just for your knowledge, we're recording video now, so enjoy. Say hello to YouTube. Keep going.
Anyone listening to this podcast that's in animation, if you're a student, you should know that woman.
Probably.
Yeah, totally. She is instrumental to Blue Sky. So the project was actually the one that I was talking about initially was real-time ray tracing, and the project is by EA actually, and it's called Pika Pika.
Oh,
And it's like some of the imagery coming out is just freaking phenomenal. But anyway, I got way off topic. Sorry about that.
No, it's all right. I think we were ready to switch topics. But considering we've all been in the animation video game industry, the other topic I was going to bring up is like what else is left for each one of us. Like I think we're all combined something like 35, 40 years in the industry. Mm-hmm. So, like Pete, what else do you have? Anything that you haven't done yet that you want to do, or is there anything left to check?
For me, as far as animation goes, nothing comes to mind. As far as personal achievements goes, I need to release a game with my brother. Mm-hmm. It's been many years in the works, and we've gone through many prototypes, and none of them have really amounted to much once you actually get to playing it. But the one we have now is actually fun, and it's not like I here's the thing, because we're just two guys and we're independent, we have no money. Mm-hmm. I all the previous projects in the past, I always considered that they're not like they're not game changing enough and all this kind of stuff, and they're not like, you know, forward thinking. They're not. I had all this pressure in my mind at like, what is an indie game? Mm-hmm. And then I came to the realization with him probably about 2 months ago, where I was just sitting with him and I said, "Hey, remember that board game we used to play, and we had a really good time doing it, and let's make a game off that. Like let's use that as like our inspiration and just have a good time and not care if it's telling a story or telling or like, you know, being or have any social commentary or anything like that, and just make a game that's fun to play."
Yeah.
And it's really going well. So that for me is my big thing. I really, really and truly, like, it's beyond one. It's like it needs to happen. Mm-hmm. You know.
I think it will, because your determination.
Yeah.
Like, didn't you just say that's half the battle, is just like starting to do the work? It already puts you ahead of everyone else in the first place. I think that was about something else, but
that was one of the tips I gave that I sent you guys, because I kind of misread the initial pitch of the episode, but I wrote down all kinds of animation tips, like from every aspect. And one of the guys I remember working, I want to say it was at 38 Studios, and there was a guy there who worked in the story department, and we were discussing like side projects and stuff, and he said, "You know what, dude? I'm going to tell you something that somebody told me," and he didn't go exactly into details on who that was, but he said, if you're working on a side project that you eventually want to produce and put out to the masses, if you sit down at your desk, you've beaten 90% of the competition, because a lot of times people just talk and don't do.
Yeah.
So
that is very common.
Yep.
Well,
What about you, Jeff or Mikey?
I mean, I'm right there with you. I really, really, really want to work on a game, and an independent game, something that I can. I don't know. I feel like video games have been such a part of my entire life. Like I said it in a previous podcast, I can't believe that I didn't actually get into the game industry. Rather, I ended up in the film industry because my entire life has been nothing but studying video games, wanting to make my own video game. I have distinct memories of being in second grade and like thinking about like why can't you scan your face in and make yourself into a video game? Like what? Like I want to make my own video game. And I remember being in sixth grade, fifth or sixth grade, thinking I'm gonna make the first game where you can say fuck in it. And it'll be a craze because nobody's done it. Nobody's ever cursed in a video game before. So I was always thinking about like I want to make a game. But so I'd really like that sometime in my career I want to do that. I'm certainly, I guess you could say I'm sitting at my desk doing it, trying it, like building stuff. But I don't have the skills that you and your brother have for it.
Well, how
I'm trying.
about this? I'm gonna pitch you an idea. How about you get your feet wet with my game and you can try it out?
I'm down. Yeah.
I don't have any. I'm not at the rigging point yet, but the player character is coming along good, and it's a first person shooter, so you'd probably dig it.
No, really. Wow, that's ambitious for an independent game.
We already got a character running around an environment and everything, and like the gun shoots and all that kind of stuff.
Not what I expected you to make.
No. Yeah.
Not what I expected to make either.
Interesting.
But I thought it would be an interesting the board game, the original board game. I thought it would be an interesting twist on the original board game.
Crazy.
Yeah, I'm not going to mention it because then suddenly everybody will know what the game is.
Sorry.
But I will say, like, in terms of
sorry.
I don't have many aspirations in animation anymore in terms of like the film industry. The more I'm in it, the less I want to be part of like the big movies, especially directing. Like I always thought I was like, oh, I want to make like my movie in directing. That has pretty much been. Maybe it'll come back, but right now I have absolutely zero desire to do that. I mention all the time, my favorite experience so far in being in this industry was the premiere of the last episode of Treehouse Studios. That was the biggest high I've had in my career. It was so awesome because it was 40, 50 people that were my friends that I know and respect. Had fun making it with you and Nick and JP, and then showing it, and I still have it. I have the video. I recorded the audience, so basically recording a laugh track, and it was roaring laughter. It was awesome. It was the best.
You need to release that.
I should dig it up because I have the screen recording, so you can actually watch it, and experience it with Blue Sky when they saw it for the first time. It's so awesome.
Yeah, put it on the JAFMM YouTube or something.
That'd be great.
That'd be awesome because I'd love to see it too.
Well, I guess I'm lagging behind you, Jeff, in a few years. And it's like, honestly, it's a little embarrassing to even say it out loud because it's like such a pipe dream. But genuinely, I would like to direct a movie at some point. I don't know that I'm good enough, but I feel like I could be. I feel like I have interesting enough stuff to make a cool movie, but like I also don't. I would never want to make it in like a studio.
That's the crutch.
issue.
I think that is the bigger thing. Is like the movies I would want to make. I would not release it under Fox, Blue Sky, Disney, whatever. Like they would never want to make anything that I want to make.
Like I've told you, my dream is to make an animated horror movie.
Yeah.
And
that'd be awesome.
Nobody would do that. So what I'm doing right now is I'm starting to make a horror comic book instead. Because like I could try to pitch it to various places, but I have a feeling no one would ever want that. And also I have no desire to pitch to people.
Dude, if you ever went to like a crowdfunding thing with that people would eat that shit up.
Yeah.
Like if you had like a little teaser of what you want it to look like and everything, and you went up and you said, look, I just want this much money to kind of like actually self-publish it. And people would, I guarantee, like horror is so big. And like think about like the whole Castlevania anime crossover thing that just came out on Netflix. Like people ate that shit up.
And it wasn't even very good. Did you watch it? It
No,
was
it wasn't.
garbage.
Yeah.
I couldn't get through
just,
2 episodes, but I see
that's
what
just
you're
kind of
saying.
like that's your gauge right there, you know, of the interest level for, you know, not adult in the term you think adult, but adult oriented animation, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like Isle of Dogs just came out, and I have not seen it yet, but just the fact that that is getting the attention of like outside of the animation industry makes it seem more adult, even though it's probably not. But it's also being made with the intention that it's not like just an animated movie aimed at a specific audience. It is made with adults in mind, I guess. But I don't know. That's like, I feel like you can't make a movie like that until you are Wes Anderson and you've made 8 very famous movies. And this is just like, oh, he's playing an animation now. That's adorable. You know, I don't know. Making a horror animated movie would be the coolest fucking thing in the world. But I'll make a comic book now instead. And follow me on Instagram to get updates.
There's still plenty of stuff for us to do.
Yeah.
None of which was in animation film, but it's okay.
Crossover a little bit. Animation and video games.
Okay.
This is an animation episode, Jeff. This is cheating.
Yeah.
We promised the audience.
So what do you... I'm going to cheat anyways.
Okay.
In terms of animation and in a video game, can you guys think of any animation in a game you've played recently or in the history that really like got you, where it was the animation in it that did it for you?
Dragon's Lair.
Well, wow, yeah. Well, that's cheating. Come on.
Yeah, okay. I'll think about it.
I've got the answer for me.
Okay, go.
And I talk about it all the time. But Eco.
Yeah.
That was the first movie or first game that like actually caught my attention with the animation. That's probably a lie. Lion King on Super Nintendo was really good. But back to Eco. Like just the way that kid was animated, I still have no idea how they did it, but like his limbs felt like they were dragging a little bit, like they weren't hand keyed, and there was some physics going on in his body at all times. So like if you turned him really right for a second, there would be like a little drag overlap situation on him, and it just felt like a kid that wasn't quite coordinated, and it didn't feel solid to me, which I thought was really cool. And then now that they released... Oh, you hear that?
Jeff's freaking out right now.
Yeah, he is. Sorry. The new remaster of Shadow of the Colossus, they redid some of the animation, and like they've just released promo videos that have side-by-sides of the original and the new one, and they like took out some of that dirtiness on the animation, and it doesn't look as good, and I'm not happy about it.
Why would they do that?
Because I think they thought they were making the animation better. But like, because there's a few frames in the run cycle of the main guy that I think like drags a lot and like his arm breaks, like sort of like cheesy student animation. But they took it out, but it like takes away from the quality of it, which I can't stand. Anyway, that studio, Team Eco.
So immediately outside of Dragon's Lair, what came to my mind that got me into the like, and you got to think about it from the time period it came out, was the original Prince of Persia.
Oh
yeah.
When that came out, I remember playing it for the first time. I think they had a port of it on the Super Nintendo. Was my first kind of foray into the franchise, and holy shit. Like, it was completely different from everything that you were used to up to that point. Sure, it was rotoscoped animation, but I mean, the fact that you had all that rotoscoped animation plus the control was really tight. So, like, it really made you think this was a real guy. And when he'd hit, like, the spikes and stuff, you'd be like, oh, shit, you know, like, it's just, and the game was fun, you know, and, but that animation speaking, that game totally blew my mind at the time.
Yeah, jumping right off of that, that just reminded me of my experience with Flashback, which was very similar in terms of that, like, really kind of rotoscoped movement. I don't know if it was the same company. I guess I should know that, but it was they definitely were inspired by Prince of Persia. But man, it's so cool. Just all like the running motion felt exactly right. It was almost confusing. It felt so good. But
they're bringing that back.
Flashback.
Yeah, they're doing a remake.
I saw that. Hopefully they don't take out frames, right, or whatever they're gonna do. I was going back to, like, I was a big Genesis guy. I guess it crosses over to Nintendo, of course. Earthworm Jim. Like,
Yep.
Do yourself a favor if you're a fan of animation and just do a Google search for Earthworm Jim sprite sheet. It is so amazing. Like, so if you go on there, you can see frame by frame all the animation that was in the game for their sprites. It is so good. So, like, the animation is just really creative. It's fun. Like, just the idea that, they had, like, these really cool idle cycles of him, like, blasting his head off, and I don't know. And you realize that your weapon as Earthworm Jim, you're in this suit, and you're literally taking your own head out of your neck and then whipping. That's your main weapon. And the animation is so fluid and felt so good. And the controls were tight. I don't know if you thought so when you played it, but I thought it was so impressive. Really good.
What's the guy's name? Doug Tenapel. I had his book over here.
Yeah, he's the designer.
The guy who designed he's the guy that designed Earthworm Jim. The guy who designed the game itself is called David Perry. And the game itself doesn't hold up at all. But, like, the imagery is, like, it's still, even though it's pixelated, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, so I was looking up, like, one of the main animators on there, and I don't know if he did Earthworm Jim or how much of it, but he's credited to do a lot of Earthworm Jim animation. It was this guy named Mike Dietz. And he's also credited with some of the animation on Cool Spot, which I had no idea until I was looking this up. It's like, what Cool Spot, I loved the animation on that. It's so cool to think it might be the same person that did the same keyframe animation. Then he has a credit on Aladdin as well.
Oh, wow.
The game?
Yeah.
The game. So there's a guy at Blue Sky that did a lot of the keyframe animation for that game, Jim Jackson. He did, like, all the animation of Apu and the bonus stages.
It's his birthday, by the way, today. Happy birthday, Jim Jackson.
Yeah, there's no way he listens to this. But hey, Jim.
No.
But I was asking him, I was like, hey, do you know this guy Mike Dietz? And he's like, that name sounds so familiar. So I was pumping him a little bit. He thinks Mike Dietz is the guy that Shiny Entertainment sent to Disney to, like, constantly, like, bicker with the animators about whether they can have one more frame or not for, like, the antics, and was constantly, like, this liaison between the Disney animators and what could actually work in a video game. So it's, like, such a small industry. It's really cool. So it's just, like, this cool circle. And then Mike Dietz also was part of that Kickstarter campaign with Doug Ted Napel, whatever. I don't know how you pronounce his last name. But he did that Kickstarter for Armacog.
Yep.
Yeah.
The stop motion one. So he was also an animator on that. It's pretty cool. That guy is still doing it today, man. Like, you can literally see his 2018 reel. He's just still in video games, still rocking it.
It's crazy, man.
Wait, so he did stop-mo claymation for that game?
He did stop motion for SpongeBob too. I don't know if that's a game or a stuff, but I was watching his demo reel. He did a whole bunch of crazy stuff.
Oh yeah, I think they had like a claymation Christmas episode or something.
Yeah. I think that's what it was. Yeah.
That's cool.
So, flash forward a few years to the PlayStation.
Oh yeah.
The Earthworm Jim one.
No.
Oh,
my next.
Oh, okay.
Flash forward a few years to the PlayStation. Oddworld.
Yep.
Oddworld to me was like super inspiring, and I remember when Rich McCain came to Blue Sky and interviewed at Blue Sky. They brought him to me because everybody knew how much I loved Oddworld, and I completely geeked out. I was like, "Oh shit, you're from Oddworld Inhabitants? No way!" Like, freaking out and everything. Oh man, I love those games.
Yeah, they were awesome. I didn't have the money to own a PlayStation, so I would once or twice a year I would just rent one from Blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
And play
Did
that.
the same thing.
And rent Twisted Metal with it. I don't think I ever even got to play Crash. It's too bad.
Crash had some good animation back then too.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy over the top. They were definitely trying stuff. They were trying to push it.
Yeah.
Oh, now that you mentioned Crash, though, that reminds me of Jak and Daxter.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked the animation on that game when it came out. Because that was like some of that Horton squash and stretchy stuff going on that you didn't see in games too often back then. For me, at least.
Right around the same time. What about Rayman?
Yeah, Rayman was pretty good.
I never really played Rayman.
That Rayman Legends game that came out a couple years ago, that was really cool.
Yeah.
Rayman? Can we just focus on how you call it Rayman?
Rayman?
Yeah.
You want me to separate a little bit? Rayman.
I do want you to do that.
Okay. Yeah, Rayman Legends.
that game was super fun too.
Yeah, it was.
Good stuff. Thanks everybody for humoring my questions this week about animation.
Oh fuck, are we done? Or close to it?
Yeah, dude. We're out of topics.
Okay.
You need just a few more minutes?
Well, let me show you how far I got. It's not even close to done.
Looks good.
I'm trying to read the. It got a little disgusting down at the bottom there.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, it looks like he's shitting himself on impact.
It's a tie, but you can consider it however you want. That's the good thing about art, everybody.
Just paint it brown. You'll be all set.
And there's that noise.
There's the noise. Yep.
Sorry.
All right. Well, everybody should be reminded again about. You can see this on YouTube. You can see Mike's drawing. Michael. I don't know why sometimes I call you Mike.
It's okay.
Weird. In person, I don't think I've ever called you Mike once to your face. Have I? Maybe.
I don't know. I don't really keep track of what people call me.
Well, this episode's been brought to you by Brooklyn Lager over here at the Gabor household.
The Fat Tire at my house.
And Mountain Dew at my house.
Look at us. Someone sponsor us. We haven't had a sponsor in a while.
Yeah, not since Subway and Star Wars.
That's true.
Yeah, those are pretty legit though, huh, guys?
Yeah, the Wookie cookie and shit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's too bad, man. This comes out April Fools. No April Fools jokes for us, huh?
I'm quitting Blue Sky.
Hilarious. We'll
discuss on April 2nd.
We'll do that.
It's also going to come out on Easter, so if you're listening to this on Easter, happy Easter if you celebrate.
Happy Easter.
Okay, real quick about that Easter thing. All right. Wife's a Jew, and I'm lazy. Do I have to do anything this Sunday with Mackenzie and the Easter Bunny?
How old is she? 2? Going on
Too
2?
young to remember.
Yeah, no. She's 16 months.
Too young, probably. I'll never forget when I first did the Easter Bunny thing with my kids. I got this they were babies, they were born in January, and then the very few months later, I bring them out of the bedroom, and I bring them over to their baskets, and their baskets are these stuffed bunnies with all the candy inside it. And I put them I sat them next to it, and they just started bawling. They hated the bunnies. So then I was like, maybe it doesn't matter right now.
Yeah.
Next year, definitely, I would say.
All right, next year I got to buck up. We got the Passover Seder tomorrow, so Mackenzie can enjoy that.
Fun.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool.
Mike?
All right. Yeah, what?
You done? did we stall?
No, I can't finish this that follow me on Instagram, Berardini, to see the finished results. I'll also post it on Twitter.
And if we're plugging each other, I'm on Twitter at Pete Paquette, and my Twitch channel where I Twitch some game dev from time to time is Brand Island Brothers.
You should talk about that just a little bit more.
And you got to spell it, because I've had a few people go, what is Pete's handle? They want to look for it, and they don't know how to spell it.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're going to end up changing the name to probably whatever, our old company name, which is Wolf Island Games. But it's based off of our old street we grew up on, which is Brant Island Brothers. So it's BRANDT Island BROS. So
yep. Find it there. You can find me streaming Fortnite and Mega Man every once in a while through our JAFMM podcast Twitch handle.
How's that Mega Man thing going, by the way? You haven't done it in a while.
I haven't done it in a while. I think I'm really into Fortnite right now, so I'm going to keep going with that, trying to get better at building. I think as soon as we're done with this episode, I'm going to hop on and play a little bit more, as long as the servers are back up.
Have you played PUBG at all?
Nah.
Do you have any interest?
No.
I've been watching lots of PUBG lately. I want to get into it, but you guys don't play it on Xbox, so I might get it on Steam.
I remember hearing about PUBG going after Epic for Fortnite, and that kind of always baffled me, because PUBG is a game made basically thrown together by Unreal. I think it's Unreal Assets, the asset store, and they were trying to take Epic to court over a game mode, essentially, and I'm glad that didn't go through, because that would set a really bad precedent.
Yeah.
Well, I do think it was more than just the game mode. It was the fact that Epic basically had a game under the Epic banner, because it was made with Unreal Engine, called PUBG, and then they basically just copied it. I don't know. It was stupid, but I agree it was stupid, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, Fortnite's cool. I'm gonna play that.
If I had any skills with shooter games, I would be enjoying it, but I get killed way too quickly.
Can I talk about Monster Hunter a lot next episode?
Yep. May 1st. Look for our next episode.
Yeah, video games. Tune in, idiots.
Take care.
Actually, next episode, we may be able to plug it now. There's a chance, we haven't completely established it yet, but if it's a video game episode, your friend Gwen
Frey, yeah,
may be a guest. So
CEO or co-creator of Flame in the Flood, and my former cube mate at Irrational Games. She's a fucking genius.
She just released a game on her own. It's pretty cool. So
if you want to follow her on Twitch, she does games dev streams for her personal game that she just announced called Kine, Kine. It's very cool looking. And her name is Dire Goldfish. Dire Goldfish.
Cool.
Cool. So
That game looks pretty tricky and fun.
it does. It's a puzzle type game. Looks really well done. So that'll be May 1st if that happens. Otherwise, you can just check out a general 3 JAFMM boys on May 1st. So we'll see you then. This has been Just a Few More Minutes podcast where 3 veterans of the animation video game industry talk about exactly that. Animation video games. See ya.
Like us on YouTube.
Bye-bye, guys.